Sebastian1145 here, and today we're going to be doing something on the channel that we haven't done in a long time. A review. Yeah, I'm just as excited as you all are. I can sense it. Today we're going to be reviewing this Tier 6 Russian medium, the T-34-85, which is kind of looked down upon by many people, and for the most part I would say it's because of its armor. At Tier 6, its armor isn't very reliable. Well, I mean, we'll take a closer look at that in Armor Inspector, but for now, let's just take a quick look at the stats. The tank has 930 hit points. The whole armor is, as you can tell, 45 in the front, 45 in the sides, and 40 in the rear. There is a slight angle in the front, but I believe the effective armor only goes up to about like 65 degrees or maybe 70. So not very useful. The back, you're pretty much going to get penned, even though it's angled. You'll get penned all the time. Same with the sides if you're giving it the flat side. You can side scrape at Tier 6 with this, and it will provide effective armor that will cause a lot of bounces. But if you're giving him your flat side, you'll most likely get penned. So looking at the rest of the stats, the turret armor is 90mm in the front, which is not necessarily bad. It doesn't have many weak spots at the top of the turret, except for that tiny cupola up there. Looking at the rest of the armor, 75 at the sides of the turret, 52 at the rear. Looking at maneuverability, this tank is very maneuverable. It does zip around the battlefield, very good at moving around to different places, which is helpful when paired with map awareness to make this tank play successfully. So if we look at the engine, it's 600 horsepower. You got a speed limit of 54 kilometers an hour. Traverse speed is 44 degrees a second, and turret traverse is 46. So those two paired, you're going to be spinning around at 90 degrees a second. It's crazy. So very maneuverable tank. Now we're going to look with more detail into the gun, the 85mm Tier 7 gun that the T-43 will also get. This gun is also the same. So taking a look at this gun, it's got a rate of fire of 7.25 rounds per minute. It does 150 to 250 standard shell damage, so average shell damage is 200, except for high explosive, which does 300. However, that high explosive pen is a mere 44mm, so it will work for the back of some Tier 5 tanks and for some weakly armored tanks, but not the most reliable shell. APCR has 194mm of pen. AP only has 144, so you're going to be struggling. Even though this is a Tier 7 gun, it does have low pen, and you're going to be struggling if you're in a Tier 8 game to pen some of the better armored targets for, say, in IS-3, or yeah, mostly IS-3s is a big problem. In the T-43, when you get the same gun, you're going to get the same pen as well with that same gun, and that's when it becomes more of a problem, because you're going to have trouble penning things like E75s or M103s, so there will be more problems at Tier 7 with the gun, but at Tier 6 it's not that big of a deal. Looking onward, you have a dispersion of 0.37, which is not necessarily bad dispersion. It's not really a good dispersion either. It's not the most accurate tank, but it's not necessarily a poor accuracy tank. And you have an aim time of 2.3 seconds, which is very good. It's good at peek-a-boom and snapshots, and it's very useful. So moving on to the armor profile now, we're going to take a look at the armor profile and Armor Inspector real quick. Alright, so looking here in Armor Inspector, we can see that the T-34-85 has 7 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty good for a Russian medium actually, and 22 degrees of gun elevation. Obviously turret swings all the way around. Yep. So moving on to the collision model, we're gonna see that the only spaced armor that the T-34-85 has is this turret, the gun mantlet armor, so that is spaced, which does allow it for some pretty troll shots. It does have some good bounces with the gun mantlet, so yeah, it is very helpful. And the spaced armor is 90mm thick. and there's primary armor behind it as well. So moving on, we also have crew members in pretty standard spots. You have drivers in front, radio operator, gunner, loader, and commander. I noticed one thing: your driver seems to get knocked out fairly often, so you want to make sure to carry a multi-purpose restoration kit to make sure that you can get him back on his feet, because when your driver's injured, this tank becomes very slow and kind of hard to maneuver, and it loses that advantage that it has over many other tanks of its tier. So moving on to armor penetration, here we're using the tier 6 75mm Vickers gun on the Churchill 1, which is a respectable gun, and as you can see, the armor straight from the front, easily penned. The effective armor only 68mm. If you angle it, still only 90mm at a very hard angle. If you sharpen the angle a lot, you make the angle about 75, and you get pretty much auto bounces, especially for lower tier guns. Now looking on the sides, pretty much the same thing, yet if you side scrape, once again, you get that 70-degree angle, and you're going to get auto bounces all day. So the tank is useful for side scraping. The hull can bounce some shots if you're at an extreme angle, yet there is that weak spot, the machine gun port, which does only have like 50mm of armor, so from the front, yeah, only 45. So there is that problem. Yet, if we take a look at the turret more in detail, so straight on, if you shoot the gun mantlet, or if you shoot near the gun mantlet, if you shoot inside the gun mantlet, as you can see right there, near the gun yet outside that red frame, you're going to have a pretty good chance of penning the armor. As I told you before, it's only 90mm, but there are the sides of the gun mantlet super high armor, especially like that shot at that angle. That's a 60-degree angle about, and yeah, that's never going to pen ever. There are also chances that they could shoot the sides of your turrets, which is very low chance of pen only because of the extreme slope. The cupola is a weak spot. It's only got 90mm of armor, so not best armor, but there's also the turret ring, which is also another weak spot, so I think the turret ring does get damaged a lot in this tank as well, so you want to watch out for that. And I think if you use HE shells, yeah, it doesn't really look like it's an easy pen anywhere for this tier 5 gun, so yeah. APCR is pretty much going to get through most of the turret, so there is that. Now if we look at a higher tier gun, so let's say we pair it up with the BL10 on the IS-3, oh boy, or the BL9, I mean, not a BL10, imagine. Anyway, so we have the BL9 on the IS-3. Once again, if you're at a very sharp angle, you can side scrape and bounce shots, but the problem is, if you're trying to side scrape at this angle, you're probably going to be showing your turret, and since the IS-3's BL9 does have good amounts of pen, it'll go through that 163mm of effective armor like very easily. Even if you angle, once again, you have to get an extreme angle at the hull for an auto bounce. Rear, don't even try. The turret, same thing, pretty much, don't even try. You're going to get penned pretty much everywhere, especially if he has APCR, there's like no chance. And HE, I believe, will do damage, yep. At the sides there, HE can pen on higher tier guns, like the tier 8, tier 9 gun, definitely from the rear and in the rear of the turret, so the rear of the turret is not necessarily a strong point. And finally, if we're going to match it up with one final gun, it's going to be the T-34-85's tier 7 85mm gun that's already mounted on it right now. So if you're fighting your counterpart, yeah, you're going to get penned very easily if you're flat, as always. So angle is important. If you come at a sharp angle and your gun is facing this way and he tries to shoot at your hull, say you have this part of your tank under cover and he tries to shoot at your hull, 70-degree angle auto bounce pretty much for days, unless he shoots that small kind of weak spot, the machine gun port, which doesn't actually happen pretty often at all. But once again, turret is stronger with this tier 6 gun. There's not many spots to pen, except for that cupola. Yet you do have a very fast turret traverse, so you can be shaking around if you'd like to. I don't necessarily do that a lot, but it would help. And yeah, so that's what the armor profile looks like. Now let's take a look at some of the gameplay in more detail. Alright, so starting off with our first game on Lost Temple. By the way, I'm not going to be showing any necessarily exceptional games. I don't remember, but I think the one at the end is probably one of the better ones. But I didn't record very good games because I don't record every game. Display recorder, as you're probably going to see, I'm having troubles with the quality settings a bit, and I don't know how to adjust this so that I get a good balance of quality, but I'm still able to play the game without going down to like 10 FPS, especially in those bushes where it's like 6. It's horrible. But yeah, I'm still messing around with that. We're here on Lost Temple in a tier 7 game. It looks like there's only tier 7, so, and here I decide to flank because although I do like going temple in this tank, I see there are pretty much no mediums on their team, or no mediums that would be a problem to me, so I decided to go flank. And yeah, as you can tell, it's pretty much only the Panzer IV if he would come around this way, which I don't believe he does. But we are going to slowly, actually not slowly, quickly make our way to this bush where the VKD has been spotted. And as you're about to see, the Russian gun has pretty good accuracy, and the rate of fire is very good. I really like the rate of fire on this gun. It's very workable, and although some people may call it slow, it is very good. We're looking at load APCR to get the shot off, and this is where we can excel. We have great gun handling. We have a gun that reloads quickly, has fairly good dispersion. I mean, .37 wouldn't normally be considered a good dispersion. And we have good accuracy at long distance. Well, that's what the dispersion is, but we also have good aim time, which is helpful for when we're switching around targets. We don't have to wait a long time for the gun to aim. And the rate of fire is also very good. So all these things paired together, and if our armor is not being exposed, I mean, I'm just taking shots here into all these enemies and trying to get a cheap shot with AP, but it bounced off his friend. Easy 8 gets it, but the point is, we're not being exposed here, and we're not getting spotted, and we can just keep putting shots into our enemies here. So I'm telling everybody to shoot the T-35-2, who is a top tier, kind of dangerous, has great DPM as well, and we want him taken out quickly since he is a top tier tank. He goes unspotted, but we spot him soon after. Try to take a shot. No, I'm pretty sure I missed the fire button there. I do that so much. That shot disappears into nowhere. Classic World Tanks Blitz. And now we get spotted, so we're leaving because I don't want to get nailed. We're pretty much going to get penned everywhere. So here we go. We're just going to kind of zip down here. The T-25-2 already took his shot. He's probably reloaded by now, but we're going to pop around the corner and take a shot anyway, put one into him, and try and circle of death him. The track traverse isn't, although it is good at full speed, it's kind of difficult to work with, but either way, the T-25-2 gets taken out. And moving on, we're trying to see if we can get shots into the Panzer IV over there. Doesn't quite work, he's backing away. But our quick maneuverability will get us there, no problem. Maneuverability is a strong point in this tank, and it's a great use of this tank. So it's what makes this tank a good tank, I would say, is its maneuverability. Its ability to get around the battlefield and around the map in situations like this really helps it excel. So as you can tell, we're on our way to the Panzer IV. We want to save our Easy 8. Okay, but the T-29 saves him, and that is game. Victory for us, tier 7 game pretty quickly. And now, as we're going to take a look at the post-game stats, obviously not the best game. I'm just showing some gameplay right now so you can get an understanding of what different situations look like in the T-34-85. This is only 1600 damage, but that's in a case where you would probably be sniping, and that's kind of what you want to do. You want to get behind a bush, you want to make sure that you're not spotted, that you stay undercover, and that you kind of don't expose yourself. So moving on to another game. This one is on Winter Malinovka. We're top tier. They only have, whenever I play medium tanks, this is kind of just a good rule of thumb, always look at the other team's mediums. So they have one medium, and I guess you could maybe call the Ram 2 a medium. I'm not really sure, but for the most part, they only have one medium, which is my counterpart. And I believe if I were to 1v1 a T-34-85, most of the time I think I'd be able to win because I've played this tank a good amount and I understand the ins and outs of it. And once you understand that, you are able to play successfully in it very often. So we're going to flank because we know that not many people are going to go flank, similarly to the other map. Also, taking it up to the mill, just mostly taking Russian mediums up to the hill, is useful on one side but not on the other. In this case, this is the side that's not very useful. You kind of need gun depression for this side of the mill in order to play successfully up there as a medium. So we decide not to go up there, and we're just going to go flank. And this game is kind of strange. We don't actually do much. We just deal with one tank that's going to pop out. The one tank I didn't expect to flanks a T-150. I was like, alright, there's no way. Are you kidding me? But I assumed that since it's a T-150 flanking, is probably not the best player because he didn't make the best decision. You don't flank the T-150, folks. That thing is so slow. It'll take you all day to get across the map. Anyways, we're just waiting, seeing if we could spot him. I'm telling my teammates up there to just stomp the mill in case that there are more people down here. T-150, try to get shot on the lower plate, doesn't really work. He shoots the rock and we back up a bit. We have better rate of fire, so we're going to put one shot into his lower plate, back up, and now he's going to start charging at us. And I don't really want to take any shots because our armor profile isn't the best. We're going to use this rock as cover, and our maneuverability, you're going to see here, bam, that sharp angle was what I was talking about in the armor inspector. When I pop out aside this rock, a lot of my side is covered, so he actually has to take the time to aim if he wants to shoot my side, which is the easy pen, but it takes work to actually aim and shoot him. We track him there. So instead, he shoots the very sharply angled plate where he's probably going to bounce most of the time. Right there, he just aimed, he shot my tracks, and he got an easy shot on my side. But there are times like that one time where he shot the sharp angle and it's a bounce, and that's something that you can really use to your advantage. Now we're starting to take shots, and we want to go circle this guy, get rid of him. I believe the Jagdpanzer IV is sniping us, and he gets one lucky snipe here, I think, or something like pretty crazy, but our team is pretty much stomping them over there. SU-100 kind of sitting with his back towards us, so we use the good aim time and dispersion to nail him in the back. He realizes that he's in trouble, so he goes away, and this is pretty much the point at which the battle is over. So just like that, that was a different type of situation, a 1v1 situation. I mean, I understand it was with the slow heavy that can easily be circled, but I wasn't in necessarily the most kind of, I guess you would say, active spot to circle him. It was kind of a tight spot. I mean, there's water there, there's a bunch of hills, there's chances of me getting sniped, as you saw by the Jagdpanzer IV. So that's when you kind of use the sharp plate of the upper, you get the sharp frontal plate of your armor to do the work for you and bounce for you, because that's where the only armor effectiveness is at that sharp angle in the armor. And sometimes when you're side scraping, I believe I side scrape in some of this gameplay, but not necessarily a ton. I mean, it is something very helpful to do. Say you're lobbed up by a building, 1v1ing like a heavy, and you're especially on the map that we're about to play on in Dead Rail. So imagine right there in that town spot that you're heading towards the cap, and there's a KV-1, and you can side scrape off one of the buildings in order to get the KV-1 to bounce, because his gun isn't necessarily good enough unless he has the derp with HE, which wouldn't even be a problem at all. But either way, you can side scrape to bounce shots very reliably. So that's another strong point of the tank. But honestly, I think the best part about this tank is the gun. That's all I can emphasize. The gun, the gun, the gun. The gun handling, it's a tier 6 medium, but the gun handling is great. It has fairly good alpha, 120 to 200, but the best part is definitely just the rate of fire mixed with that aim time, because you're able to poke out, put a shot in, back up, reload within reasonable time, poke out, put a shot in, back up. And even though the dispersion isn't the best, since the aim time is low, the dispersion is, I guess you could say, high. It's kind of like, it kind of like cancels each other out, so the gun is very, very good. So, I mean, that's why I enjoyed this tank so much. That's why I ended with 100 battles and a 71% win rate. So this tank, I really enjoyed this tank. It might not be the same for everybody. I know many players who like to play aggressively. This is not a tank to play aggressive in. Do not do it. That's what I did for the first like 10-15 battles, and I lost like at least, I'd say, 7/8 of those 15 battles. It was not good because I ended up dying early because I realized that the armor is not a strong point at all. So right here we get spotted, and we're using our maneuverability to try and avoid shots. There's a T-34-85 victory. Try and snapshot. It doesn't really work. There's a KV2, and I was like, no thank you. Oh my god, that derp. Okay, so now we're just going to put shots in the T-34-85 victory. We have a good reload, so we're able to put another shot in. And bam, easy pen from the side. Once again, another shot. He's just kind of sitting there, so he's out. And now we're going to move on behind these bushes. We don't want to expose ourselves to the KV2, because if he gets a shot on our side, we're going to lose a large amount of health, probably even 800. And that, no thank you. Okay, so we're going to move around the side, seeing if we can spot any more people. Mostly focusing on the KV1. Tree falls down there, and that is the KV1 right there with that mighty derp. We put a shot in, back up. I don't want to risk taking a shot, and this always happens to me. Whenever I'm with a KV1 and I'm taking these like hold down snapshots, I always get penned. 0.6 accuracy, 4-second aim time, and I still manage to get penned with my turret whenever I try and do that. It's kind of stupid, but this KV1 really ignores me, which is his downfall. He finally turns towards me, but my rate of fire manages to take him out. Now we're going to move on. We haven't taken a single hit point of damage, and we're just zipping around the battlefield. Nothing's going on. The enemy team isn't really paying much attention to this tank because they assume that it's a weak tank that doesn't cause much trouble, but that's where they're wrong. Once again, 220 alpha. I think I got the alpha numbers wrong. I believe it might be up to like 237 or something. But that KV1 is trying to fire at us with a small caliber, quick firing gun, and I'm kind of annoyed. So I decided to zip down and take him out, but our reload doesn't quite get us reloaded in time. I'm going to pop around here, see the AT2, try and snapshot, but he does have strong armor, so I'm just going to ignore him because there's like, what, 4 tanks right there? Pretty sure they can take that. Or I could just HE him into, oh, okay, never mind. That's cool too. Okay. And now they have one more enemy, the M4, and we're just going to hunt him down. Out of all these tanks, we're definitely going to be there first because our maneuverability is superior. I'd assume he's on this side of the map because we pretty much just cleared that side of the map. And there he is. Pretty sure he has the derp. Yep, he has the derp. We take a shot, but I don't really care. And our reload is easily going to be his reload. Put another shot in. He's on adrenaline for whatever reason because he's going to do like 100 damage. So there's no point in even trying. Bounce off the M4. But the gun does have good pen. So there's, I mean, it doesn't have good pen, but it has good enough pen to get through tier 5s, definitely. Good pen, I mean, tier 8s, IS3s, no thank you. APCR, I did use a lot of APCR in this tank, but not as much as I did in the T-43. You're going to see I recorded only one game, and this is probably going to come out next week or maybe in a few days, depending on what I feel like doing. But in the T-43, since you end up getting in those tier 9 games with, like I mentioned before, with E75s and whatnot, you kind of have to spam APCR, and I mean, I don't really like doing it, but it's not something I hesitate about. If I see an E75, I automatically load APCR, because I know that 144 millimeters of pen is never going to get through the front of an E75, and even the 200 millimeters of pen is very difficult to pen his lower plates, so you kind of have to get around the sides of an E75 in that case. But since the T-43 never sees an E75 unless you're platooned with a tier 7, you don't really have to worry about that. Here we're on Desert Sands, the newly reworked map, which you can clearly tell that this is before the update. And we spot the Cromwell kind of YOLOing, don't want to deal with him now. We dodge a shot from the Panzer IV because of our maneuverability. Our reload time is very good. So we bounce a shot. This is true with many lower tier tanks. You can easily just angle your armor, and a lot of the time you'll bounce. Like, you don't even need that extreme angle for lower tier tanks like the Panzer IV, because at that speed, you're probably going to bounce a shot. Try to snapshot that Cromwell. I don't know what he's doing. He's pretty much dead. There's no point in him trying to do all this speed boost adrenaline thing. So, we've taken up 2 mediums, 1 tank in the town. They have a VKH, and we bounce on him for some reason. We get penned because of his large caliber gun. Load APCR because I don't want to miss the next shot, or the next shot should be a pen. So there we go. Back up a bit. We don't want to take a shot. Load AP now, and we put 1 more into him. Back up. We don't want to get shot. A lot of the times, if you're in this kind of close quarter situation, say the VKH was focusing me, what I would do is probably back up. I'd wait like 3 to 5 seconds for my camo to reset, then I'd pop up, take a shot, back up again. And in that case, I'd probably even load APCR so that I don't have to spend a lot of time out there. There we go, just Stug randomly bounces. But so that I don't have to spend a lot of time out exposed to the VKH, so that I can just pop out, peek-a-boom, not have to aim that much, and then pop back in for the damage. We're gonna go after the Stug now. He doesn't have much chance of penning. Right as I say that, he pens, of course. But our reload is going to beat his, and we take him out as well. As you can tell, maneuverability is easily getting us around the battlefield. Easily. So, let's see. We're looking for the final tank, SU-152. I assume that he's maybe AFK, maybe sniping. So we move back over here, and there he is, sitting within the town. There's another SU-152 on the other side of the train tracks. We're trying to not get shot here. So he turns towards us. I just don't want to take a shot, so I back up. I wait for him, seeing what he's going to do, if he's going to come towards me. And then I move forward so that we can get in a more advantageous position. We shoot him once, and that T-43 had tracked him, so we were able to take that shot, and down he goes. Another victory within only about 3 minutes. So the tank is successful if you learn how to play, conserve your hit points, don't get shot, and use your gun most of the time. I can say this about pretty much any tank. You want to do well in a tank, don't get shot a lot, and always keep the gun firing and hitting enemies. And that way, I guarantee you, you're going to do well in your tank. So another game on Lost Temple, but this time I believe instead of flanking, I go temple. So this is how you're gonna approach the temple style. It's a different situation. There are tier 7s in this game, but it's only one tier 7, a Panther M10, which I do believe gives us some problems because of that quick reload and good pen, but it's not really much of a problem. So starting off here, we are going to go temple and use those stairs on the side of the temple as a sort of hold down position, because those stairs do offer cover for our sloped frontal plate, which isn't necessarily the best piece of armor. So we're going to go at it at a side so they can only see our turret and our front plate at a very sharp angle so that they'll bounce. That is the plan, but I mean, maybe it doesn't work out every time, but our quick maneuverability is going to get us there first, for sure. So we're going up the temple stairs, and that's what I was talking about, this little temple side. We go around the right side because why not? Put a shot into the Crusader, and we spotted 3 enemies. And there's the Panther M10. We're just trying to snapshot, yep, and we back up. And he doesn't get the chance to put a shot in. All of a sudden, a wild Panzer IV appears, and we're just going to sit behind the temple try to avoid shots. The AT-8 tries turning over to us. We back up. We're going to avoid him, put a shot in the Panzer IV, and now we're just using the cover of the temple. We're not getting shot at. The Panzer, or AT-8, I believe, is just ignoring us at this point. He doesn't really care. And I want to take out this Panzer IV because he's kind of an annoyance, and a dead tank is better than a living, functioning tank. So we take him out, and we're already 2-0. Doing good up here, using the gun effectively. The Crusader is dead. This EZ-8, it's kind of easy prey. We pop around the corner, and we are able to just continuously put shots into him. Another shot in. And see, he's got that gun. We're just gonna pop out, put another shot into his side, easy backup. Now we're only showing our turret here. He shoots again, misses, and we nail him. Now there's this M4, and since the M4 doesn't have the best gun, I decide to go out and just take a shot if necessary, but he ignores us, as often happens, misses his shot, and we're definitely going to beat his reload. So we pop around his back for the easy pen, get his side, and he's taken out. Now, we have an AT-8, and he's on adrenaline, but we're going for the circle of death on this guy. He puts one more shot in, but now he has no chance. There's no chance. I load APCR just because I know that this armor is good. We missed the shot because our gun depression didn't really work for us there, but that's alright. Put another shot in, and this AT-8 is screwed. He's not going to do anything. There's nothing he can do. So we load AP ammo, and we're going to put shots into his rear. Yep. Yes, sir. So we're on 3 kills right now. Putting shots into the rear of the AT-8 while our team deals with enemies by the cap. There goes the Panther M10, which actually didn't really cause us much problems. We stay behind the AT-8, and he fires his gun, I think, unless I missed that. But he's kind of angered now because our maneuverability is easily gonna we're gonna outmaneuver him for days. We could like backwards circle him and be fine. So moving on, one more little stug left roaming around, and I believe he's gonna get taken out by our teammate. So one thing I'm going to emphasize about this tank, or two things actually, is the gun. The gun is great, handling great. We have good aim time matched up with okay dispersion and good rate of fire. Armor, not that great unless you angle it hard, unless you side scrape. There was our Mastery Badge game, so it did seem that I recorded our Mastery Badge game. So I think that this tank is great. If you guys follow what I talked about in the review, I think you'll be successful. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for more awesome tank videos.